I was wanting to show what my Photographic Portal and my Televisual Portal have in common, and then I was gonna try to make an argument for an invisible holographic multiverse. Well, this shows the conversion between an outside low-tech photographic invisibility and an interior low-tech photographic holodeck. That's just the outside world brought through and put inside. And then I haven't done the corners yet, but when you do the corners, you take a half of a triangle or half of a square X'd inside, and you switch it over to its corresponding place on the opposite side, and you push that through, and it exists inside there like it was in the square form on the outside. Now it's on a square form on the inside, the correct position, and that would be how you switch from low-tech and 26 viewing angle invisibility to a low-tech 26 viewing angle holodeck. The background outside would now be the background inside, and you go to the regular switching thing that you did with this for the 18 viewing angle, but you add on the corner angle views too, the 26 viewing angle, and then you'd have a holodeck inside of a chosen holodeck scenery, and the outside would blend into the background post-quarter setting obviously. And but what's more is that you can also produce photographic holograms within the 18 viewing angle and the 26 viewing angle holodeck. This is not a very good picture. It doesn't show her body out of the wall too well, but this is a better picture in the 18 viewing angle photographic hologram form. It's actually emanating from the walls behind him, but it's all been focused at the position where it's at in the middle of the box. Same what would be with her, but at 26 viewing angles. So there's three different combinations. There's three different components that make up a photographic portal: an exterior invisibility, an interior holodeck, which are inversely related with each other, plus the interior hologram. And all these effects from one set of images copied 2 times produce these 3 effects. And once you understand all this, how this is done, then you can see how the holodeck could be an image of the past. This is the past, down at the river in Owensboro, Kentucky. That's the old gazebo. That's the trees that line the area. You can have a trip to the present, which is standing inside and seeing a holodeck, a photographic holodeck of the outside world in this present time, where you can see a illustration of the future. But the important part is the present dual corresponding photographic portals. They're not really corresponding, they're pseudo corresponding. They're not really televisual, not no real time and not the real setting or whatever. But you can put the holodeck from this outside inverse invisibility into its interior holodeck, because one's invisibility becomes the other's holodeck, and this invisibility could become this person's holodeck. You just invert the images into the background, like what was shown through the 18 and 26 viewing angle conversion process to turn the outside invisibility into a holodeck. And so these are the shared holodecks, and of course the photographic holograms that can be rendered inside an 18 viewing angle or a 26 viewing angle holodeck. And this was what I was toying with calling it, but this is the high-tech version. This is the high-tech version of my ideas. which is what I actually came up with first a long time ago. An intersection of light and a concentrated intersection where you can hide something in between the outside environment and the inside by having modified light field picture elements that would send and receive and create a web, an intersection of a visual reality inside. And this is a three-dimensional version I tried to make, model or whatever. This shows the holodeck inside, the light coming through the invisibility outside would emanate inside as a holodeck. And this ultimately leads to the idea of portals, an outside invisibility, an interior holodeck. This is another light interface to send the light through to make it invisible while you're sharing a holodeck with another portal somewhere else, another televisual, telepresent portal. And of course, this is down at the river again. You can create televisual, telepresent holograms inside a televisual, telepresent portal. This is a televisual, telepresent portal, and this is the dual holodeck furniture environment. Dual holodeck to the backdrop virtual environment, as well as a holodeck furniture inside. This is a picnic table, a rendering of a picnic table in a holographic form. It's actually emanating from the background walls. And so it has all these three properties. It's invisible outside. That's my arm at my house, I guess. And it's creating a holodeck of another environment, and creating a hologram of the environment, of the objects that are inside that environment. And so this sort of like compares with my idea of like a invisible and holographic bound, based on my ideas in engineering. Wherever space itself disappears, it must reappear somewhere else. If it disappears on the surface, it reappears in the holodeck. And they're both inversely related, invisibility and holography. And you can use the same thing to say wherever space itself disappears, it must reappear somewhere else, when you can televise that holography. So it's a televisual process. It makes the space disappear, renders the outside of the object invisible, while sending that same information to the holodeck to construct the holodeck of the other person's corresponding portal. And lastly, this is a cloaking light interface, the main holodeck light interface, and the secondary holodeck light interface for telepresence. And inside you can see Bob's hologram, and in here you can see, well, what would appear in each other's holodeck would be a virtual form of their holograms. I guess these would be the real people. And the cloaking light interface, the holodeck light interface, and the secondary holodeck light interface for telepresence, because it switches a person's body into a virtual form, casts its negative, and then when it transmits it, it retransmits it and back into the holodeck environment in a positive form. So if Alice was to be over here, then she would be in a virtual form, and Bob would be in a virtual form in her holodeck. And so these are the three basic things of a photographic and televisual portal: is invisibility on the outside, a holodeck on the inside, and a hologram on the inside of the holodeck. The three basic components of a photographic and televisual telepresent portals. And I went through and already showed you how to do it in the photographic sense, and this is in the televisual sense. And so it's from one source, the invisibility, or the two sources, invisibility on each other's holodeck or locale, whatever. And their invisibility, their cloaking shell is inverted inside to be the holodeck of the other person's interior shell. And this outside invisible shell takes the light in and converts it to their holodeck. That's the islands and ocean and everything. And so these are the basic components. But this sort of, makes me think of a invisible and holographic bound of not just the universe, but the multiverse. The multiverse, because with televisual portals, you can transmit the space that the object rests in. You don't make the object invisible per se. You make the space that the object rests in invisible. And then you send it, you televise it, you send that when space disappears. This is based on Landauer's principle of information. When space disappears, he said wherever information disappears, it must reappear somewhere else. Well, I brought that to its final conclusion. Whenever space disappears, it must reappear somewhere else. If you're using Televisual, Telepresent technology, and all these different attributes of invisibility, a holodeck, and what would be a hologram inside each are they're both the qualities of the photographic and the televisual portals. And so I imagine the whole universe as one giant portal, and I'm invisible to the outside multiverse, to the other bubble universes, while the holographic principle takes place in the interior holographic bound. The bulk would be the hologram, and the boundary would be the holographic holodeck, the background holodeck. So, if all these three qualities exist in a photographic form and in the televisual form, how could they not exist in a cosmic form? So, invisibility is inverse to a holodeck, but then the holodeck and the hologram itself are dual to each other. So this is where the holographic bound, the holographic principle plays out. Out here in the multiverse is where the invisible bound is included with its own duality, the holodeck itself. And the holodeck has a duality with the hologram inside, the boundary and the bulk of the holographic principle. So I think that's where I want to end at. But I sort of imagine our universe as a giant portal among other bubble portal universes. And so I consider this as an invisible holographic multiverse principle where dualities exist within dualities. Invisible to the holodeck,